G'day and welcome to Mark and Sam After Work. Today I want to do a video on MIL versus MOA. What's better, what's more accurate, what suits you is where we'll end up, but we'll start off with a simple understanding of what we're talking about. Obviously we're talking about adjustments and reading scopes and adjusting onto scopes and choices you can make there. So the core of it, MOA, is something that's basically in our language and in our world, actually, is where it comes from, and that is degrees. Degrees come from the fact there's 360 degrees in a circle, or a 360 degree rotation is one full rotation. Comes in language, you go around a right angle corner, you went around a 90 degree corner, you know what we're talking about. If you go back where you came from, you just did 180. So or a 180. If you do a complete round and keep on going the same direction, you just did a 360. These are things that are normal language that we all know what we're talking about. Well, that is where MOA comes from, because in that 360 degrees, for every 360th of that circle, which is 1 degree, there is 60 MOA. So it actually is in a normal language, and that's what we're talking about. It ends up with some happy circumstances, I think, more than anything, that one MOA turns into a adjustment or measurement of 1 inch at 100 yards, which means it also turns into 10 inches at 1,000 yards, and 20 inches at 2,000 yards, and 30 inches at 3,000 yards, and that type of thing. As you go out using yards, then your MOA works quite well. It isn't perfect. It's not 1 inch exactly. It is 1.047, so very close to exactly, but that's what it works out. More a happy circumstance. I don't think there was maths involved with that. There may have been, maybe I'm talking out of tune, but that's how it does work with yards and degrees and MOA. That's where it comes from. MIL wasn't a happy circumstance, was designed about being able to do that, making it easier for the military, making it easier to range, to adjust, that side of things, what MIL was all about. MIL radium is what it actually is. And a radium is actually a little bit less than 1/6 of a circle. It's actually worked out by, if you take your circle, you take the radius, and you take that same distance and strap it to the side of the circle, make it go around the corner there, that's actually a radium. So 57.3 degrees is what that actually is, but really it's not trying to be involved with degrees, it's trying to make sure that it works where you have 1 mil is 100 millimeters at 100 meters, and 1 mil is 1 meter at 1,000 meters, and 2 meters at 2,000 meters, and 3 meters at 3,000 meters, exactly, because that's what it's designed to do. So that's the core. Obviously, mil is you have tenth of a mil. If you look at the MOA, they'll tend to come down to quarter MOA adjustments, or some down to 1/8 MOA. If you look at the mil, you'll tend to have they've got tenth of a mil, so 10th clicks. So that's quite fine down there. It's not quite as fine as quarter MOA, but it's pretty close. But you also get down to where you have half mil scopes. They have, well, it's not half mil, half a tenth. So you get down to 0.5 adjustments, 0.05 adjustments, that you actually end up being able to adjust on some of those scopes there. And with between both those combinations, you get this point that one's more accurate than the other. I would say stop right there. If you are a robot and you can only adjust things exactly to the clicks, then okay, that comes down to actually when you have this conversation, which scope you're getting, how fine is the levels on your scope. But I find I'm not trying to talk to robots. I can, and I'm sure you can, hold half of that adjustment when even you click once, you hold halfway between, or a quarter of the way between, or 1/8 of the way between. You have an infinite level of adjustability, no matter what the scope is, down to what your hold is. Resolution helps, and being able to see better, so clearer glass and more power and things can help with finer adjustments, but you can hold the difference rather than having to click the difference. So no difference in accuracy between the two. When you talk about ranging, there is some things, like I said, that the MIL scope is made to be perfect. The MOA is not quite as perfect. close to damn enough, and I couldn't call a difference between them. It's not something I do a lot of, but in the real world, on living things, trying to use heights references to adjust exactly is near enough to impossible. Well, it is impossible. Animals, people, trees all have varying sizes. They may look the same thing from a distance, but they're varying sizes. When you go to a fuel drum or a Humvee door or a military, a set size, then there is able to be done with extreme accuracy with a good scope. But in actual fact, both with learning, I think it's easier and more trained in a mill side of things, but it's able to happen super accurately in the MOA side of things as well. But as I said, it's not something I really do, not in the living world. And even with my 24-inch targets, well, they work quite neatly for what I do. But it comes down to, at extreme distances, there's other things going as well. And there's too many other choices. Whether it's laser range finding, GPS range finding, being able to bring up a map on your phone, have a map with you, being able to work out landmarks and that sort of thing to get accuracy. You can do it quite accurately without the scope. But listen, on that score, there is a tiny advantage to the mill, largely in the training base side of things and where it's used. The bit that I would say with all these things is that the obvious bit, which I probably should have started with, if you are looking at purchasing a scope, you make sure that they are mill, or they MOA, which means the reticle and the turrets are the same. In either camp, they're the same. Some older scopes, some cheaper scopes, you'll find that they mix them up, and that's a bit of a mess for doing things. Still, there's a workaround that'll get there, but making sure that they're the same. They are, like I said, mill, MOA, very important. And beyond that point, I would say the real reason to choose between a MOA or mill, there is simply you do that, you like that, that's what you want to do, hey, you go with that. But in the way of a practical thing to actually attach it to is that if you're in the military, in the police, or in places, PRS, that type of thing, where the crowd uses your meters even, just going with meters, mill works better with meters. That's as simple as that. So everything's in meters, it's easy to range in meters, everything in meters, it all makes sense. You know what your adjustments are, you know going on, because meters is what it's attached to. You can do it with MOA as well, you've got to do the maths all the time, but if you don't want to do the maths so much, or the spotter who's talking to you, the way the competition's set up, all meters based, then or mill based, then go with the mill. And same for the MOA. Bit more yard friendly, although you can use both in both places, but a bit more yards friendly, so imperial measurements, your crowd, F-class, that type of thing, I think generally more the MOA crowd. I don't really know that, but that's sort of what I've heard. You're working in yards, the way your brain works, the people you talk to, think in MOA, and that's also in your ranging side of things. I certainly do it. My 24-inch target is one MOA at 2,400 yards, coincidentally. So very easy to work at 3,600, 2 miles. It's roughly in a target and a half that's involved for one MOA. So pretty simple sort of stuff for me to think about. But equally, the other way is not complicated to think about it. If you translate into meters and that sort of stuff, then mill makes sense very quickly over there as well. Now, this is that conversation also moves into first focal plane and all that sort of stuff. I'm not trying to wrap that up into this little bundle here at all. But it's really more your crowd or the way your brain works is where they go. There is differences also in reticles because of the way they're designed, because one mill is roughly just over 3.5 or just under 3.5 MOA. The whole scaling of scopes or reticles tend to be a little bit different because of the two of them. So that might also be something to look at. So certainly check it out. Reticle's important, but really it comes down to more what your crowd's doing, which one is better. As for accuracy or of anything, no, there's really no difference with them. There may be a little more simplicity to the mill side of things. I haven't found that's not the way my brain works, but it may be the way your brain works. So, no real difference between them. They're both as good as each other and as bad as each other. How you want to look at it, both work very well. Mill was specifically designed for this job. MOA, like I said, is really just part of the world we live in. The minutes of a degree or degrees in a world is something we all know, we all talk about all the time. Anyway, guys, that's my video for today. I hope that was some help. Thanks for checking in, and we'll catch you next time.